We could sit and dwell on what a supper club is, and I don't know that if anybody could actually ever give you a definition.
I'm not real sure what makes it a supper club.
A supper club would be an establishment that only serves dinner, not open for lunch, and it's just family run for many, many generations.
They're like nostalgic, whole different atmosphere. A nice, quiet, relaxed, place that still gets you a relish tray. It's kind of like bringing the salad bar to your table.
It's just a very, very nice place, very friendly.
And the sign says supper club. Yeah, you come here for supper. Yeah, there's no lunch, no breakfast.
Well, by looking at me, it's obvious that I go to all the supper clubs. No, we enjoy this kind of dining.
It's a sirloin for two. It's all sirloin. Typically ordered for two people.
I should probably be getting the queen cut, but I do get the king cut. The king cut is about like that, and the queen cut is about like that. But I really do enjoy it. It's just absolutely terrific.
This is not where you're supposed to come for this quick meal and get out. Most people come here for an evening.
Most supper clubs just have that, they're dark wood, they're decorated, just to be very warm and welcoming.
It's just nice that when you travel around the country and you say, can I have a brandy old-fashioned sweet? Everywhere you go, they immediately know that you're from Wisconsin.
A lot of people go to those chain restaurants, they just don't know how to make brandy old-fashioned sweets.
Of course there's a secret. There's a secret to every good recipe.
The secret is to come to the Buckhorn.
It's just a nice atmosphere. I mean, we're sitting here on the lake. You get a great panoramic view. The food has always been good. It's just a fun place to come and spend the night.
We've been to a few supper clubs around Wisconsin. It's a tradition when you go fishing after a long Friday on the water to go out and look for some good food. And there's always a supper club probably within 10 miles of the cabin, no matter what lake you're at.
We've never eaten at Dreamland.
Yeah, because we've never eaten at our own place.
Because we're always working when we're open.
You're married to this place. You're the last one to leave, the first one in. And you're involved where to make it run. That's the way it is with supper clubs. It's not where we hire managers and hire this and we're not around. We're always around.
After 35 years of cooking now, I'm getting real close to cooking my 1 millionth steak.
And it's meat and potatoes. It's not trendy type foods where you're going to get foo-foo things like that. You're going to get your steaks and prime rib and seafood that has been a staple in the Wisconsin market for years.
The food and beverages we offer here, many are a mix of Wisconsin traditional bar foods, your pickled eggs, your Landjagers, beer nuts behind the bar. Actually, we don't have beer nuts.
Ein Prosit, auf Ihr Wohl und so weiter. Ja?
Well, this building that I purchased 4.5 years ago was originally a chicken hatchery. It had an apartment on the top floor. The lower 2 floors were indeed chicken, hatching areas. And it was in the same family until about 1974 when it became Larry's Supper Club. Since then, it's been continuously in action as a supper club. I think there have been 3 owners prior to me. And prior to that, I owned a supper club also here in Beloit, Wisconsin called the Gun Club.
We used to go to the Gun Club back in the day. And that's no longer with us now. It went away a few months ago.
The recent fire at the Gun Club, it's a loss to the community. Certainly I spent 13 years there that were well spent. And so I certainly lost a bit of me. 13 years of my life went up in flames. Well, the Gun Club actually was built in 5 different parcels or additions, but the original bar and restaurant was a chicken coop. So I have some sort of affinity with chickens, apparently. And prime rib.
Supper club is usually meat and more meat, and a potato, and some sort of delicious appetizer, and lots of beverages.
I think you can get an answer from each person who's ever been in this business as to what a supper club is. I've always thought that it's individually held, privately held. It's not part of a chain.
Supper clubs aren't chains. They're usually locally owned or family owned, and you get the dedication and the service that only a locally owned or a family owned place can really offer. So a supper club can be a real special thing. It's always fun to come to a new supper club and try the meal and try the bread and try the deli and see how the things go.
Each place has probably its own signature dish, be it prime rib or duckling or whatever it may be. Maybe they have salad bars. They have relish trays. Here we do seafood, features nightly. We have prime rib available every night, but it's, steaks, chops, and then I like to get good seafood and let my chefs prepare it appropriately.
Tonight I had the shepherd's pie, which is English food. It's pub food, actually. But the supper club difference is they dress it up and they make it a lot better in a supper club. And here it was lamb and pork and duck, along with the gravy and the potato, and it was real good. I mean, it was the best shepherd's pie I've had since I can ever remember. It was delicious. It was real good.
Oh, well, of course, the drinks in supper clubs it's a martini Manhattan type of atmosphere. You don't serve many shots in a beer in supper clubs. It's a little more laid back and a little more upscale than the normal bar down the street. Oh, we have people from Rockford. We've had people from Madison. Being on Highway 81, we have a lot of traffic.
Living in Rockford, we don't get up to Beloit very often. We do a lot of our dining local. There's a lot of locally owned restaurants in Rockford. This is my first time at the Liberty Inn. I think we'll be back again. It's pretty good stuff.
Everybody's a celebrity when they choose to spend their money with you. You should be giving them the best treatment that you can give them, welcoming them into your home.
It is amazing you wake up and the view is always beautiful, no matter what season it is. We enjoy the restaurant business. We've been doing it 36 years.
Steve and I are pretty much the groundskeeper, menu writers, hospitality givers. This is our deal. The beginning of the Pinewood Supper Club started in the early 1900s with the original pine planked building. Since then, it has seen multiple owners. We have been here for the past 35 years.
We've got a great menu mix. Friday night fish fry, of course, and Saturday and Sunday we do prime rib. We do a lot of fresh fish. We do all hand-cut meats. We do all our own prep. Everything's fresh made to order. We use as much as we can from local growers, farmers markets, things of that nature. The features change a couple times a week depending on availability of fresh fish. Probably a couple of our best-selling items would be crab stuffed salmon and the cracker-crusted walleye. We do a relish tray to begin with, and it's with our famous vegetable dip, we like to say, and that's always been kind of our trademark, which people say is supper club-ish.
We do have a few guests that will always request the same server, which is really a wonderful thing because it's given them, the customer and the server, time to make a friendship or a rapport with those people. Being sustainable is very important to us, and we know that we're just a small little square of the world, but it's important to us to use green soap and green paper. We have a smart car. It's fabulous. And we also have a wonderful herd of fainting goats. They are one of our best composters, so none of that goes to waste. None of that ends up in the landfills. Every year it gets just a little bit more difficult to compete with the chains. You know, they have huge advertising budgets. They can buy in mass volumes, but they don't produce the same kind of product that we do. So there is definitely just a niche market for us. There are people that really like to come and relax and enjoy food, and we always try to provide the best quality food and great service.
Is there a life outside of Pinewood, or do you?
There is. We don't go out a whole lot. We tend to, when we have an evening off, we usually spend it together, and we don't do a lot. It's not bad to sit home. You know, it's enjoyable.
The Hobnob was built in 1954 with the Higgins family. They originally were downtown Racine from 1937 to 1941. Then Bill Higgins, he decided to build it out here by the lake. I purchased the restaurant in 1990 from Bill Higgins Jr. One of the nice and unusual things about the Hobnob restaurant is that it's made up of individual rooms. Individual rooms can hold 2 people or can hold up to 120. Each room has its own personality. We have some that have purple and pinks and mauve, and then we have the old-fashioned cocktail lounge with the large bar, and the terrace room, which is the large room with all windows facing the lake. As far as attire, it has changed. We're no longer a formal society. We're more of a casual, dress down. So in the summer months, shorts and t-shirt are just fine. We have people in their late 20s that will come in just to see the restaurant of yesteryear, all the way up to people that are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary that have been coming here for 50 years. The secret to a good prime rib, I feel, is it has to be slow roasted.
This is how we trim the prime rib and season it here at the Hobnob. First, I'm going to run my fingers across this fat line, start pulling it back. Then I'm going to take my prime rib knife, make a cut, so I get down to the bone and get all the fat off. I'm going to start trimming this fat off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it. Flip the prime rib, and I'll end up taking the rest of this fat off. Comes off like so. Then you go by the bones, which is the export part, the export rib part, and you cut this fat off. So the next thing you do is season it. First we take a little kosher salt, cover it generously, some cracked black pepper, cover also generously, some garlic powder, and then we take rosemary leaves. After we're done trimming and seasoning, we're going to put it back in the oven for about half hour just to let it firm up and the seasoning melt into the prime rib.
I think the loyalty factor is, young kids, they unfortunately have been shown this kind of a place. They learn by accident. That's why we're still trying to maintain what we are, and so that when they do come in, we got them. We got them.
Marty's Place North has been here for 28 years. The Katie family owns it. I'm the daughter. Bought it in 1981. There was an extensive remodeling that took place and opened in May of '82. I started working here as a child, bussing tables and dishwashing, and now my children are working here, bussing tables and dishwashing. So it's definitely a family affair. Being that we're a supper club in the Northwoods, you have to have a Friday night fish fry. We offer a lake perch, a baby walleye, a broiled or deep fried haddock. Saturday nights, prime rib, roast duck. We're very, very well known for our roast duck. The round room gazebo table here is our most requested table. It's just really wonderful if you're, have family or friends up. It's kind of private. You kind of feel special sitting in this little room like you're on display, and it's a great spot to have a meal and enjoy with family and friends. All the lighting in here ties in together, and we love the amber colors because it's so complementary and just nice, soft lighting. The two large fixtures that we have in here were actually hospital operating room lights, and then they added brass, did some soldering work to it to just make them fit in here a little bit more. The canoe that we have here is a a local artisan that's very well known, Ferd. This is the third canoe that he made. We do take it down once a year and soak it in the lake, like the Indians did, and keep it pliable from the winter heat and stuff like that. So it's still seaworthy after all these years. Like most supper clubs in the Northwoods, we do have our own resident ghost. His name is George, or so we've dubbed him. We believe that it's the first owner of the building. He's not harmful. He just is kind of a little trickster. People that come down into the lower level that are looking for George feel that he is over in this corner somewhere, that it's very cold over there, and that they definitely can feel him down here. I can't. I never have had any of those feelings, but that's what we get. Some people have seen him. Some people tell me what he looks like, and they've all kind of been on the same page with that. The granddaughter still comes in here. She's older now, and she describes him almost the same as these people are seeing him, so that's kind of a little creepy to me. We do hear screaming and kids running up the steps, but it's usually my son scaring them.
This is the largest recreational lake in Wisconsin. This is man-made. It was built by the Minnesota and Wisconsin Power Company. That's why they call it WISSOTA. Wisconsin, Minnesota, WISSOTA. That's how they came up with the name.
This is our 16th summer. We moved up from Iowa. We were originally from Minnesota, lived out in South Dakota, kind of made a circle of life, the heartland. Back in the early 60s, it was like just a bar, basically, serving a little food. When we bought it 16 years ago, it was pretty much the same structure, but we totally redid the siding about 4 or 5 years ago. And went with the log siding and so on. And then the inside, I'm sure you'll see that, to where we've got musical instruments is our theme.
And musical instruments was something that my husband and I must have saw years ago in a restaurant and thought it was really neat. So when we came and this was just blank, except for maybe a few whiskey decanters on the rails up there, we decided to just decorate with it. And within 2 years, we had pretty much everything you see in here. There's a lot of instruments that need a good home, and we made a good home for them.
Basically, it's your typical Wisconsin supper club. We have our Friday night fish fries, we have prime rib, we have steaks, we have over 50 entrees, we have alligator.
Some of it's farm raised, and some of it is shot wild. That's where one thing we have to inspect is once in a while there's some buckshot in it, where then you know it was shot wild. But it's an experience. You got to try it. I'm not going to tell you what it tastes like. You got to figure it out on your own. But otherwise, we got some nice walleye fillets here. That's one of our smaller ones. I make all the soups on a daily basis or every other day type of thing, but it's all made. We don't buy any soups. We make it all from scratch. What makes us unique too, in a way, to where it's not all pour it out of the can and put it in a pan. You can do that at home.
I think what makes High Shores a special place is for our guests that come in. They're just awestruck when they get close to the windows here and see the lake. And of course, especially on a sunny day like this, and it's just glistening, it's just beautiful. A lot of people come in that don't know some of their friends are going to be here, and that interaction at the bar and also throughout the dining room is what makes it special and what's really heartwarming for me. Because I feel like I've created a place, an atmosphere for them to feel comfortable in, that they can just mill around and visit, and that's what it's all about.
Then we have eating outside, covered porch, we have the deck, we have a pavilion for private parties, and then we have the lake, of course, with docks to where people boat in on their pontoons and so on and come up.
But there's been times where they'll sit out and have their cold one waiting for a parking spot. The nice thing about it, it's usually pontoons and so on, so there's 6-8 people at a time on them, so it's nice to have on that part of it.
You got a big crowd right away.
Yeah, you got a nice table full right there, and then.
With boat cruise, generally it's strictly by reservation only. We take and have a champagne on the boat. We take you out for about an hour to an hour and a half and tour the lake, show you some of the highlights, some of the different places, give you some history on the lake. It's very, very romantic, very quiet, very peaceful. And when you come back, you have a window seat or a deck seat, whatever you prefer. Order anything you want off the menu with dessert. It's perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, that kind of thing. We do a lot of them.
You know, as far as other supper clubs, we do like to patronize other businesses that are in the same situation that we are. Basically, mom and pop organization, home style, you know, hospitality.
Your traditional supper club is more older people that grew up in that type of thing, and our challenge right now is to get the younger people to experience that and to get into the habit.
That's what we're striving for, to get more younger people in here to realize that what we have to offer is a wonderful dining experience and not just the cookie cutter style that you may get from the sports bars and from the chain restaurants. We had Robert Plant in when he was at Rockfest. They had a great time. We took pictures out front, and he was very hospitable in that fashion to take the time, you know, for us. No, I don't remember what he had.
Robert Plant had catfish.
Well, when I was a little kid, my dad used to take me to Crandall's, which I loved, and I always wanted to get the most expensive or the biggest steak on the menu, or the lobster or the ribs. I was, you know, I just couldn't control myself. That's what I always wanted. I've always been a carnivore. I'm not quite sure why, but I've always had an appreciation for that kind of food and that style of food. These are some of our specialty cuts here at the Tornado Steakhouse. We have our 16-ounce top sirloin. We also have our house specialty, which is the 20-ounce bone-in tenderloin. It's kind of a special cut. It's like the tenderloin side of a T-bone, only cut very thick. We also have our 28-ounce bone-in ribeye. It's probably really like 36-ounce, but we want to make sure people order it. Otherwise, you know, they'll be afraid to order a 36-ounce steak. Well, on Fridays we do our version of a Wisconsin fish fry, and what we serve is our fresh lake perch. It's yellow perch from Lake Superior. We pan fry it with shallots, white wine, lemon, thyme, and parsley. It's a lot lighter than most fish fries because it is pan fried. At the Tornado, we bake all our bread early in the morning. We do a kind of a traditional multi-grain loaf. It's sort of an herb bread with fresh dill and onions. It's about drama in a lot of ways, and you want to get, you know, people's attention, and I don't believe in skimping. I mean, I know some of it is a little ridiculous, but I think it adds to the effect of, you know, what a steakhouse should be.
If you're going to eat steaks in Madison, it's the only place to go. I mean, it's an institution.
I think it's been, you know, a good restaurant and people seem to like it.
But this whole restaurant's sort of a time warp, and when you come here, you could imagine yourself being here in the 1950s or 60s, and there's nothing in here to really remind you that you're not, other than like our cash register. You could immerse yourself in this restaurant and believe that you're somewhere, some other time. These bar stools I actually had made. I call them the Elvis Presley of bar stools. I think they're beautiful, and I think they really go with the restaurant. The booths themselves I designed and I actually built with a friend of mine. They do actually work quite well. They're kind of small, but I've seen 6 or 7 people in one of these little booths, you know, on a busy bar night. I've always liked our neighborhood. It is, in my mind, the last little bit of Skid Row left in Madison. It's just sort of a ramshackle block of a number of different bars, each one very different. There's sort of a kind of a tattoo biker bar called the Paradise. There's a gay bar called the Shamrock. There's Jenna's, which is the closest thing you get to a college bar. There's even a massage parlor that's called the Rising Sun, which has been there since the early 70s. I think the future of the supper club, as long as people appreciate nostalgia, steaks, and generous portions, I think supper clubs are going to be here for a while.
The Buckhorn Supper Club was built in the early 40s that we can tell about. The previous owners to us were here 45 to 50 years. We're now in our 14th year at the Buckhorn. It's really the only supper club located on this lake. Lake Koshkonong is the third largest lake in Wisconsin with over 10,000 acres. So we're happy to have this location on the lake. Our pier can handle 8 to 10 boats. Our pier is the second longest one on Lake Koshkonong, but each pontoon boat can accommodate 6, 8 to 12 people. So when it lights up on our pier, it usually brings a table full of people with it. Current status of the pier is we're underwater, but we've had some high water events. So right now, again, going up on 4th of July weekend, we're under 2 feet of water on our pier, and it won't be usable now probably for 2 or 3 weeks. Cal, did you fire up the tractor?
This is our house, yeah. When I see somebody on the patio, they go, "Oh, this is so beautiful." And I says, "Well, welcome to my backyard." And they say, "You live here?" And I said, "Yeah, we live here, And they said, "Oh, how fortunate you are, to enjoy this during the week."
When we came in here 14 years ago, prime rib was probably the most popular item offered in the fish fry. We surely have kept those recipes.
Well, our favorite fare here is the prime rib, #1. It's absolutely terrific. It's their signature meal here. But we're here tonight for the lobster boil, and this is live lobster, and it is absolutely terrific.
The history of the lobster boil is we enjoyed Door County fish boils. And so we went up and researched them and determined we had a location on the lake that was ideal for that kind of event.
We've been doing the boils for, I think 8, 9 years now. We've been doing some fish boils. Now the last few years we've switched over to lobster boils.
He's got a grip on me there.
The lobsters are flown in fresh. They actually come in just north of Maine. They come out of the Canadian waters. They've flown in Chicago. They arrive Tuesday night. They bring them up to us by 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and we're eating them by 6 o'clock on Wednesday night.
They're all fresh and that type of thing, and then we get them claws and all, and we bust off the claws and break open the tail, pull out the tail, open up the claws, and get all the meat from that too.
There are different sizes for lobster. We run ours from 1.5 to 1 3/4 pound lobsters. It hangs over the edge of our platter, and the meat is very tender for that size.
Well, pretty soon, the fire's going right now, and our son will be coming out and checking the fire, keeping on putting on the logs. Get a really intense fire. He puts water in the pot, which holds approximately 90, it can hold 90 lobsters. Our son Kevin and the other cook Jeff comes out and shows everyone the lobsters before they're cooked, then puts them down. They don't scream like everyone thinks they do. No, we've never heard a scream.
It's about a 20 or 25-minute cooking process, so we start cooking them around 6.
We announce over the microphone inside that the boil over is going to happen. Get your pictures, and everyone runs down and takes the pictures, and then we have the big boil over like they do for Door County fish boils. They bring the lobsters up, and they're all bright red, and they parade them around to everybody to see, and then we proceed to go inside and start the festivities.
We set up a buffet for our lobster boil. We have Caesar salad, dinner rolls, fresh steamed sweet corn, red boiled potatoes. You get one whole lobster on your plate. Then we set up a dessert bar. If you're having trouble getting your lobster opened up, the first thing is to grab the tail and twist it and kind of separate the tail from the rest of the body. The claws can sometimes get tough. We got a big hammer in the back, so if it gets tough, just call the wait staff over. We'll get them in the back and we'll get them opened up for you.
When you think about a supper club, we really look for 2 things. First of all, we really look for the quality of the food, the quality of the service, the environment, and that type of thing. But the second thing that is equally important to us are the quality of the ownership and the people that are serving you. And the Buckhorn is top-notch quality, both in terms of food and cuisine, as well as Dawn and Chico Polk and the entire staff here, who we also know very, very well.
If you would have told me back in high school and college that I would own the Dingling Supper Club in Hanover, I would have laughed in your face. Both my husband and I grew up around Orfordville, just about 5 miles away. He grew up on his family's farm. I grew up just down the road. It's worked out very well. I absolutely enjoy coming to work every day. There's only been about 3 owners of this place, and I think I'm actually the 4th. The original owners actually had lived back in this back room. It used to just be that back room where their living quarters, and then it was just the bar, and this was the dining room right here. So that's how small it was. And then this was an addition that was put on, I couldn't tell you when. I want to say maybe the 60s. I had worked here for about 4 years, just waitressing, hostessing, bartending, just on the weekends, and I decided I just needed to do something different with my life. The previous owners and I, we had a really good relationship, almost like we were family, so I approached them about buying it. We actually ended up closing in February of 2006, so it's been about 4.5 years now.
This is what people do constantly, and I think that's why it's called the Ding-a-ling.
It's been the Ding-a-ling since the 1940s. Because it's such a catchy name, there was no way that we were going to change it when we took ownership. Everybody always asks me, they're like, what is a supper club? And I'm like, well, we serve supper. I think it's more of the hometown atmosphere. You know, when you walk in, we recognize the customers. It's kind of like one big family out here. Because of my husband's ties to the farming community, we've seen so many more local farmers coming in, which is great. Because like I said, you know, they're coming in, they're looking for their big steak and their big potato. That's what the farmers grew up on, that's what they eat. It's just great seeing their faces around. If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be places like this.
We're a little corner restaurant. Some people say it's one of the best kept secrets in the city because it was originally a house and the people who owned it before turned it into a little restaurant and we kept it as is.
My restaurant background comes back from my father's restaurant. It was Ray Jackson's over on Blue Mountain Road, and it was a well-known place not only because the food was good, but there was a lot of sports people there all the time. There's autographs and signatures that we put on the wall. It was one of my things my father did, and I kept that going because it was always fun for me to meet those people. And it was fun last month. Jerry Kramer was here from the Packers, and 2 weeks before that, Paul Hornung stopped in. This is a table we're sitting at. Is Bud Selig's favorite table. He likes to come here. It's a retro 50 kind of feeling going on here. My wife did a real nice job with this vases and vases, and they're everywhere.
Those are my collection of glassware. I started, a couple years ago, and it grew and it grew, and customers have been nice enough to bring things in that were in their family for a long time, and we display them, and they're beautiful. And I just wanted something at the end of the day for people to sit back and just relax. And it seems that the colored glass really is a nice touch. Our customers are wonderful. We have people from all over the city come. We have people who drive in from Chicago, from Madison. A lot of East Siders come here because it's a very comfortable, cozy place.
An average night is probably about 65 people, and probably double that on the weekends. And then during the summer we have a patio, so we can almost triple that. This is one of our signature dishes, the barbecue ribs, and it was voted highly in the Milwaukee area, best in the city. Where the menu now, we sell a lot of Kobe beef, 32-ounce ribeyes, 32-ounce porterhouses, and the fillets and the New York strips, and we also have something called a flat iron, which is relatively new. I've had it for 8 years. I was one of the first restaurants to have it. Always got to buy the best quality meat, you know. That's one thing I'll never fool with. I bought the same meat from the day I've opened to right now because I do not want to change that a bit. I'm real proud of it. My customers love it. So that's the secret, buying good food. I said to myself the day I bought this, even the day before I bought the restaurant, I said, if I can't fill this restaurant, I shouldn't be cooking. So I take a lot of pride in it. probably have a strong attitude about, making things good.
I like being small. I like being intimate. It's just a very nice little place.
My parents, Wally and Eva Onesorg, started the business in 1929. They were here for 51 years, and my husband Ricky and I bought the business from my parents, and this is my 31st year as owner of the Greenwood Supper Club. Well, 1929, actually my uncle and my father both ran the Slipper. It was called the Slipper because it was a dance hall. After they married, my mom said, I want you to change the name, and so it became the Greenwood. Place where, we always welcomed not just, adults, but families. My father basically made his living from catering to the people of Door County, not tourists. It really wasn't a mecca for tourism at that point. Through the years, people discovered it and started building their retirement homes or wanted to bring their kids for family vacations and such. Pretty much a lot of Illinois people. Yeah, a lot of Milwaukee, some Green Bay people too. But majority is from Illinois. My dad used to have gas pumps right in here where people used to come and fill up their cars with gas, and John Dillinger would stop in and fill up his car on the way out of town, up north or wherever he was going. Our specials are our fish specials. We've always been noted for our perch and our whitefish. We offer a broiled whitefish, and that comes from local waters out of Ellison Bay, Green Bay area, and Lake Michigan area. Most of our menu is nothing fancy. You get your vegetable, your potato, and your meat basically, or your fish. We don't have fancy dishes. Most people come because of, they know our prime rib is good, and our fish, our whitefish and perch and walleye pike are all fresh, and it's a place where people gather, especially on Fridays for our fish fry. When I'm out here during the day, it's like this is like a busy intersection, as you can see. So there's people going to Bailey's Harbor, Jacksonport, Ephraim, Fish Creek. We're kind of centrally located, really, when you think of it, but off the beaten trail. One of the problems I think that we've run across is people have been coming up for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they'll come in for dinner and say, we never knew this place existed. People tend to want to stay on the highway, which is 42 in Fish Creek or 57 on the lakeside. Up to like maybe 6 or 8 years ago, it would be, for us, pretty normal to do 500 people on a Friday night. Fall colors are always beautiful. Particularly if you go down A, probably one of the prettiest roads in fall because there's valleys and farms as you go down.
We know it's been around an absolute minimum of 85 years. It was already dreamland in 1927. We know it was a speakeasy during Prohibition. When Morrison, the guy that obviously built it, died, his granddaughters inherited it, but they never kept it for a business, they sold it. Then it was Lesson, Fern Gamble, and then they sold it to Betty Brennan, which her daughter took it over 19 years later and owned it for 24 years, and then we bought it from her. And we've had it 11 years, so we're virtually the fourth family ownership in here.
I've worked here about 27 years, and it's always been a real enjoyable place to work. And Dan and Terry have kept that same family-type atmosphere between employees, customers, everything. But we've always had a real good reputation for lobster, for steaks. So the food is what really brings the people here.
Most people come here for an evening.
We don't like to rush people because you do get so much food here. It's, you know, you get the relish tray and then you get soup and salad with your meal.
The prices are competitive everywhere else, but you get a lot more stuff than you do anywhere else.
We actually get that where they take their whole meal home because they're full before they ever get their meal.
And of course the deep fried turkey is a very unique item. I don't believe you can get that anywhere else.
That is so good. It's all, we buy the white breast and we bake it and then cut it, so it's all made fresh. And then we deep fry it in a batter and serve it deep fried. And then we serve it with drawn butter. It's like the poor man's lobster, only tastier. My great-grandmother is the one that made the French fried turkey batter. She gave that to my grandmother when my grandmother bought the place, and that has been a big seller.
You know, these bars, local bars, it's all beer. Here we hardly sell any beer. It's old fashions, martinis, Manhattans, a lot of cocktails.
Anything with brandy here in Wisconsin, but especially the Manhattans and the old fashions are real big sellers.
I'm having a brandy old fashioned. They make them really good here.
I think one of the reasons I like this is it's a relaxed atmosphere. It's a nice place and it's a supper club, but yet it's a casual place and you feel comfortable in it.
We're at Schwartz's Supper Club in beautiful downtown St. Anne, Wisconsin. We're so small and so isolated, we're classified as a hamlet. We've been here since 1957. My mother and father started the business. My father passed away in 1971. At that point I took over the business when I was 19. So I've been here since 1971. And right now my wife and myself run it. She's a very integral part of my business.
Day in and day out, we love it. Enjoy coming to work every single day, enjoy my co-workers, and enjoy all the customers.
The system here is that if you have a reservation, you're in the wrong spot.
At Schwartz's, we have you come to our bar, enjoy our ambience at the bar. We take your name and order at the bar when you're ready so that you can relax. And when your table is ready and your salads are on the table, then we'll announce your name over the intercom and you can proceed into your table.
When you get served, you don't have a waitress. All of the waitresses take care of everyone. Service is prompt, it's friendly, so it's a great system.
On a busy night, we'll serve about 700 people. The dining room fits about 140 to 150, but every table's not maxed out. So the number of people waiting out in the bar, sometimes the wait does get to be an hour and a half to 2 hours.
We use 23,000 pounds of prime rib a year, which goes out to about 1,000 pounds a month. We have the smallest cut is an 8 to a 10 ounce cut, and then it goes up from there. We go to a 16 ounce cut, a 20 ounce cut, a 50 ounce cut, and they're each cut on order as you would order it. So I mean, it's hot. In the course of a year, there's probably 20 people, 25 people that actually would just polish off their 50 ounces of prime rib and their salad and the potatoes and come out and have a grasshopper. They're still hungry. T-bones are in here, your porterhouses, and we have a small steak we call a club steak. Finished product after we cut it, these would be our porterhouses, a nice big eye, actually basic New York strip on the other side. These are tenderloins. Again, we use those all. We use certified Angus beef. These are Prairie Premiums. We buy a premium tenderloin that comes from a beef cattle, not a typical commercial tenderloin that comes from a milk cow. These are actually from cattle that are raised for beef. These are our small ribeyes, which is most restaurants they'd probably be their large one, but this is our 8 to 10 ounce ribeye. We try to keep them nice and cut nice and thick. These would be our regular ribeyes, 16 to 20 ounces. We leave the lip on just for a little bit interest and extra flavor. They're all again cut by hand, so that they might be 16 or they might be 22. It's not a science, it's not portion cut. This is a real popular steak. It's a butt tenderloin. We call it a sirloin tip. It's
cut like so. This steak would be the same that's cut out of here, but we serve it as a complete dinner. That's one of our most popular sellers. Here's our cowboy cut bone-in ribeye. Cut it on the saw. It's cut about 24 ounces, cut by hand. The very end of your loin, and that's like a T-bone, but it does not have a tenderloin portion, does not have a tail on it. We call it a club steak. A more common name would be the bone-in New York strip.
The first time we came here, I ordered a steak for two. They brought out the plate and a cow came over and laid down on the plate. From then on, I was a believer. They give you plenty for what they charge.
Schwartz's Supper Club is it's a nice place to be a part of. I grew up in the community. I've lived here my whole life, and growing up, it's my first and only job that I've ever had. And it's just been a nice place to work and good to be a part of, as well as a good family to be a part of. So I'm very proud to say it's in our family.
You look, there's an awful lot of Schwartzes and Schneiders, and my name is Kunzenheim, so there's a lot of Krauts around here. So it's good Gemütlichkeit.
The restaurant has been open for nearly 5 years. It'll be 5 years in December, and it opened with the idea that it's here to celebrate Wisconsin and Wisconsin traditions. Reminiscent of all the things of an old tavern you find in Wisconsin, supper clubs, things that my partners and I remember from growing up, here in Wisconsin. The name Old Fashioned came from my partner Tammy Lax. It's a throwback to that classic Wisconsin cocktail that just screams a little Wisconsin pride. You can't go too far out of the Midwest without people not knowing how to make it. Some of the things we offer was fresh Wisconsin cheese curds. We get this in fresh and we hand batter them to order, never frozen. So you've never had a fresh cheese curd that's been deep fried. It's unlike anything you've ever had, and truly fantastic. Rushing Waters Rainbow Trout, fresh from Palmyra, and we also have walleye sandwich, walleye fish fry. This is our house hamburger. It's a local grass-fed beef, served with some locally produced bacon with caramelized onions, garlic sauce, aged Wisconsin cheddar, and a fried egg on top, just to make it just a little bit special. Appetizers for sharing, such as Lazy Susans. We have a meat one, vegetable one based on fish with some local smoked trout, some house-cured gravlax, and these to us are they represent the old supper club experience we had when we were kids. It's comforting, and it's food that you're familiar with, and it's food that's either celebrating your region or coming from your region, and you're proud of it. The people that come here we have a mix of people of all ages, students, non-students, retirees, business people from the capital. And I think a lot of them come because this is a throwback to things they remember from their youth. A lot of people will bring guests in from out of state to show them a little piece of Wisconsin. We travel around the state to actually pick up beers from small breweries that don't have a distributor. We have one import, Grain Belt from Minnesota. Yeah. I got some. I think last supper club I was at, up near the Wisconsin Dells, going to Ishnala, out in the woods. You've got to love a restaurant that has trees growing in it and overlooks a lake.
Ishnala was an old Indian trading post in the late 1800s, and then a family bought it and made it into a private residence in the early 1900s. They sold it to the Hoffman brothers, who used to own the Hoffman houses and throughout the Midwest, in 1953. So this is our 57th season. They took the small residence and added 100 tons of flagstone rock where the dining room sits,
and then added the decks and the arrowhead bar, a bar shaped like an arrowhead. I started working for the Huffman brothers in 1973 as a busboy in Wausau, Wisconsin. Ishnala is unique. We are located in Wisconsin Dells, where there's a lot of great places to go to, but nothing as beautiful as our setting. You won't be able to duplicate this anywhere. The name Ishnala stands for by itself alone. It's Indian. We actually have Chief Ishnala in the restaurant, and there's a sign under it that says by itself alone. It really means that because you drive a mile into the woods to find our restaurant. We have a lot of unique things. There's a canoe on top of the bar that's been here as long as the bar was built. There's a canoe in the front of the restaurant that's over 100 years old that was found at the bottom of Mirror Lake, an actual wooden canoe that was carved by the Indians. We have different animals that are familiar to the area, raccoons and badgers, things like that are stuffed in the restaurant. And we've tried to keep it just like it was 57 years ago. It's such a neat place that we don't want to change a thing. Everybody has a view of the lake, and everybody wants a table by the window. And we have 2 levels, so it doesn't matter where you sit, you have a great view of Mirror Lake. It's so picturesque, there's not a bad table in the house. And then we also have decks outside. We have 2 decks outside where you can sit and wait for dinner, before dinner, after dinner, just to sit and enjoy the atmosphere. Our menu is mainly meat and potatoes. We have prime rib, we have fillets, we have New York strips, salmon, orange roughy, lobster, shrimp, and we also have something that's called a beef medallions, which is tenderloins, beef tenderloins that's sliced thinner, and it's sauteed with garlic and portobello mushrooms and brandy, served with a little demi-glace. So we have a wide range of the meat and potatoes that people just are really excited about. And our potato is au gratin potatoes, which you don't get everywhere. We have people that have been coming here for 57 years. Their parents brought them when they were kids, and now they're bringing their kids. And it's a whole experience for them. Every night we'll hear, oh, we haven't been here in 20 years, oh, we come every year, or we haven't been here in 30 years, or we got engaged here. There's a special table number 15 that a lot of people come in and ask for because they had a great experience either getting engaged or celebrating an anniversary. So customers actually know table numbers at this restaurant because they've been coming so long. Sometimes it's the destination, just let's go up to Ishnala. Other times they might incorporate it with their vacation while they're in the Dells.
I fear that the future is not in this kind of dining. I think our children and our grandchildren are finding a need to be entertained when they eat, or just to go through a drive-through, so they tend to want a quicker level of service. They aren't building any new supper clubs. It's always fast food or chain restaurants that are opening. So I fear for the future of the supper club business.
And a lot of restaurants were supper clubs back then because all restaurants really were independent operators. When they were in business at their height, they were in the best location. Today the locations are all brand new. So if you're an independent restaurant, you're not in the best location anymore.
And if we could have a Mother's Day every month, I think any restaurant would survive very well.
But would you survive that, all that work?
Oh yeah. Yes, by all means, with this day, we need it.
We went to a supper club in Sweden once. It's pretty interesting. It's all chicken. They're like, this is really good. Really nice supper club. They said it in a Swedish accent, of course. We got there and I was like, what's your specialty? It's chicken. So we had chicken.